Have you ever jolted awake in the middle of the night, wincing in pain, unsure what caused that sudden tightening in your calf or foot? Nighttime leg cramps can feel like a rude interruption, especially after 65, when restful sleep is more precious than ever. It's easy to think this is just part of aging and resign yourself to pushing through each day on interrupted rest. But imagine if there were practical ways to reduce and even reverse those frustrating leg cramps so you could enjoy uninterrupted nights and more active days. That's precisely what we're going to explore together, step by step. One of the biggest challenges for many older adults is not just the pain of leg cramping, but the lingering fatigue that follows. After a night of battling muscle spasms, you might find yourself moving more slowly in the morning or avoiding activities you once enjoyed. This matters because our energy and independence are precious, especially in our later years. Addressing nighttime leg cramps can restore confidence in your body and support a more vibrant, active lifestyle. I've spent years focusing on supportive movement strategies for older adults. While I'm not a physician, I've seen countless seniors transform chronic discomfort into comfort through gentle, targeted stretches and mindful movement approaches. What I've discovered is that many of us have been taught to go easy on our muscles and joints. But being too cautious can lead to stiffness and reduced circulation, both of which can trigger or worsen those painful cramps. The good news is you don't need to be an athlete to reap the benefits of healthy movement routines. Small, consistent efforts can make a tremendous difference. In just a moment, we'll look at 8 simple stretches that can help release muscle tension, improve circulation, and support restful sleep. Along the way, you'll uncover misconceptions that might be holding you back, learn about realistic success stories from people well into their 70s and beyond, and discover how easy it can be to weave these stretches into your daily routine. Each stretch is adaptable, so whether you prefer sitting, standing, or using a chair for support, you'll find an approach that suits your comfort level. A word of encouragement before we begin. It's natural to feel uncertain about making changes at this stage of life, but you are far more capable than you may realize. These stretches are meant to support you safely, and if anything feels uncomfortable, it's always wise to check with a qualified healthcare professional to get personalized feedback. By the end of our time together, you'll have a toolkit that can lead to more peaceful nights and more energized days. So, are you ready to dive in? Let's start with an approach that challenges the notion that movement makes cramps worse. It's a belief many hold, but the right kinds of movement can actually help break the cycle of muscle spasms. Here's how. Many seniors are told that if their legs cramp, they should rest even more. But this can create a vicious cycle. The less you move, the tighter those muscles become. A gentleman named Hal, who's 72, used to prop his legs up every evening, fearful that walking or light exercise might provoke cramps. Over time, he noticed his calves felt tight even during the day. When Hal began a gentle ankle roll stretch routine, he discovered something surprising. The slow, controlled motion helped release tension in his lower legs instead of triggering cramps. By rotating his feet in small circles, 5 times clockwise and 5 times counterclockwise, he improved blood flow and eased muscle tightness. This simple movement can be done from a chair. Sit up straight with both feet on the floor. Lift one foot, gently point your toes forward, then rotate your foot in a circular motion. Make the circles as big or small as feels comfortable. A key tip is to breathe out as you complete a full circle, allowing your leg muscles to relax, then switch feet. Adding these ankle rolls a few times each day gave Hal not just physical relief, but also emotional assurance. He found that consistent, gentle movement reduced that fear of sudden cramping at night. He felt more in control of his body instead of at its mercy. When you find yourself thinking, I should just stay still, remember that stagnation often contributes to muscle knots and cramps. By introducing even a small movement like ankle rolls, you may notice your legs feeling looser by bedtime, which can lead to fewer painful interruptions. It's a simple place to begin if you felt uncertain about where to start. As you continue, you'll see that each gentle stretch builds upon the last. Now let's consider another misconception. Many people believe that the only way to fix leg cramps is through massage or medication. While those approaches can offer relief, there's more you can do for long-term comfort. Take Margaret, for example. She's 78 and lives in a retirement community. She developed a habit of lightly rubbing her calves right before bed, which offered minor relief. Still, the cramps would often wake her. Then she heard about a technique called the seated hamstring stretch. At first, she assumed this was for athletes and doubted it would help her. But a friend convinced her to give it a try. Seated with one leg extended and the other foot planted on the floor, she gently leaned forward from the hips, reaching toward her toes without forcing the motion. The point wasn't to touch her toes, it was to lengthen her hamstrings and ease tension that can travel down into the calf and foot. After holding the stretch for about 20 seconds, she switched legs. Over a few weeks, she noticed the frequency of her nighttime cramps decreased. The increased flexibility in her hamstrings and lower back seemed to lighten the overall strain on her legs. The emotional payoff for Margaret was huge. Instead of feeling helpless, she found she could take a few minutes each day to create real change in her body. If you're skeptical about stretching, think about trying this seated hamstring stretch for a short time and seeing if it helps. You might be pleasantly surprised by how much relief you can achieve. Remember to inhale deeply as you prepare to lean forward, and exhale as you sink gently into the stretch. This rhythmic breathing helps you relax and signals your muscles to ease up. Before we go any further, does any of this resonate with you so far? Sometimes the best way to confirm you're on the right path is to check in with your body's response. So take a moment to see if your calves or hamstrings feel tight. You can even try a quick seated hamstring stretch right now, leaning forward gently and noticing where the tension is. Let's address one more assumption before we move on to new stretches. People often say, "I'll just drink more water," and that should solve the problem. Hydration is important, but there's a deeper issue at play for many older adults: reduced blood circulation and muscle elasticity. This was a lesson Charles, 69, learned when he realized that plain water wasn't enough to prevent his cramps. He'd been told that leg cramps were simply a sign of dehydration, but even after increasing his water intake significantly, the spasms persisted. After chatting with a movement specialist, Charles discovered a calf stretch that targeted the deep muscles in the back of his lower leg. He started practicing it by standing near a wall, placing his hands against it at shoulder height, and stepping one foot back to gently stretch his calf. He kept the back knee straight, foot flat on the floor, and leaned in. He held the stretch for about 20 seconds, switched legs, and repeated. Within a few weeks, Charles noticed not only fewer cramps, but also more comfortable morning walks. His advice to others? Pair your hydration with targeted stretching. Water helps, but your muscles also need a chance to lengthen and receive fresh blood flow. Emotionally, this gave Charles a renewed sense of hope. He saw that a solution was within reach and not limited to just chugging more glasses of water. If you've been relying on hydration alone, consider adding this basic calf stretch to your day, ideally before bed and again when you wake up. You might find it brings a whole new level of relief. At this point, you've seen how simple movements can challenge some deep-seated misconceptions about leg cramps. Let's take a quick pause. If you've tried any of these stretches, how do you feel? Are you noticing which muscles are tighter than you expected? That awareness is the first step toward making sustainable changes. We've tackled the ankles, hamstrings, and calves. Another puzzle piece to consider is the role of our feet themselves. Many people think foot exercises are just for injury recovery, but let's take a closer look at how strong, flexible feet can be a game changer. I remember coaching Helena, an 80-year-old retiree who loved gardening but struggled with foot cramps at night. She used to think foot care meant wearing comfortable shoes and occasionally getting a foot rub. She never considered that her feet needed regular exercise just like any other part of the body. Helena started doing a simple toe flex and point routine every evening while watching her favorite TV shows. She'd flex her toes toward her face, hold for a couple of seconds, then point them away, repeating the motion about 10 times per foot. This tiny action helped strengthen the small muscles in her feet and improve circulation up through her calves. Within a month, Helena reported not only fewer nighttime cramps, but also less foot fatigue during the day. She could stand for longer periods among her tomato plants without that burning sensation that usually crept in. Perhaps best of all, she felt more in tune with her body. By paying attention to an area often overlooked, she discovered a renewed sense of confidence in her mobility. So if foot care has never been on your radar, give those toe flexes a try. It could be the missing link in your leg cramp puzzle. Closely connected to foot flexibility is the state of the Achilles tendon, which runs from the calf muscles down to the heel. Many older adults assume it's normal for this tendon to become rigid with age. But there's more to the story. Gene, 74, believed that once his Achilles started acting up, his choices were limited to medication or reduced physical activity. But he tried an Achilles tendon stretch that involved standing on a step or a sturdy block with just the front part of his foot on the surface. Holding on to a railing for balance, he let his heels dip downward, feeling the stretch in the back of his ankles. He held it for about 15 seconds and carefully returned to a flat position. Over time, he found that this not only lessened his heel and calf discomfort, but also decreased the frequency of his nighttime cramps. The gentle elongation of the tendon gave his lower leg muscles more room to relax. What encouraged Gene the most was seeing how quickly a bit of consistent stretching gave him results. He felt more stable during his morning walk, and that stability translated into better nights. He realized that age-related stiffness doesn't have to be an inevitable downhill slope. If you felt that tendon tightness, consider exploring a safe version of this stretch, using a stable surface and maybe a friend or family member's support if balance is a concern. Sometimes a small daily effort can yield a big cumulative effect over the weeks. Since we've discussed foot and ankle stretches, you might be wondering about the upper legs and hips. Could tightness there contribute to leg cramps as well? Absolutely. For instance, tension in the hips can pull on the leg muscles in ways that lead to cramping. Evelyn, 77, used to get jolted awake not by calf cramps, but by a spasm shooting through her outer thigh. She realized she'd been dismissing hip flexibility as something only advanced yogis cared about. Then a friend suggested a gentle seated figure 4 stretch. Evelyn sat on a chair with her back straight, placed one ankle on the opposite knee, and leaned forward slightly, feeling a subtle stretch along her outer hip. She held the position for about 30 seconds on each side. Initially skeptical, Evelyn was stunned to find that loosening her hips helped alleviate the tension radiating down her leg. It made sense when she thought about the interconnectedness of muscles and tendons. She could also walk upstairs more comfortably and felt less tension when standing from a chair. The emotional boost was profound. As she put it, I never realized a simple seat-based stretch could make me feel younger. If hip tension is on your radar, consider adding a figure 4 stretch to your routine. It's an easy way to release that upper leg tightness that might be contributing to cramps lower down. Before we move on, how do you feel about taking a moment right now to test one of the stretches we've discussed, even if you do it in a smaller range of motion? Sometimes actively trying it, even for a few seconds, can help your body remember the movement more effectively than just listening. If it feels safe, give it a try and notice the immediate difference. No need to force anything. Easy does it. Now let's address a frequently overlooked area, the quadriceps, those large muscles in the front of your thigh. People often say, I only cramp in my calves, so why bother with my quads? But leg cramps can also stem from imbalances in the entire muscle chain. Arthur, 68, was convinced his nighttime cramps were exclusively a calf issue. Stretching his quads never crossed his mind. Then during a session with a movement coach, he learned that tight quads can disrupt the alignment of the knee and even affect the calf. Arthur began a simple quad stretch. Holding on to a stable surface, he gently bent one leg behind him, grasped his ankle or pant leg, if flexible enough, and pulled the foot toward his backside. He made sure to keep his knees close together to get a proper stretch in the thigh. At first, he did this stretch only once a week, but after a noticeable reduction in his overall leg stiffness, he increased to doing it daily. The physical benefit was that his cramps diminished in frequency. Emotionally, Arthur found reassurance in knowing that he could be proactive. No longer did he assume that aging meant things just hurt. Instead, he saw that a holistic approach, one that acknowledges every muscle group, could actually shift his nighttime comfort. Finally, let's talk about something that may surprise you. We often think about stretching just before bed as the best way to fend off cramps. While it's helpful, there's a hidden gem in stretching right when you wake up. Many seniors believe morning stretches are risky or too strenuous on stiff joints. But done gently, morning movement can prime your muscles for better circulation throughout the day, which can reduce the chance of nighttime cramps. Teresa, 75, discovered the power of morning stretches almost by accident. She had always done her light exercises in the evening, thinking that was the only relevant time to prevent cramps. But one morning she woke up unusually stiff and decided to do a few of the ankle rolls and calf stretches right away. She was pleasantly surprised to feel more limber throughout her daily activities. Over several weeks, those dreaded 3 a.m. calf cramps significantly decreased. The emotional benefit for Teresa was the sense of being ahead of the problem. Instead of waiting for bedtime or waiting for a cramp to happen, she proactively prepared her muscles. For many older adults, this shift in timing can be transformative. If you've never tried morning stretching, consider giving it a test run for a week. You might find it infuses your day with energy and helps your muscles unwind more easily at night. Now that we've covered 8 ways to encourage more relaxed muscles, ankle rolls, seated hamstring stretches, basic calf stretches, foot flex and point routines, Achilles tendon stretches, seated figure 4 hip openers, quad stretches, and morning routines, you have a toolkit designed to tackle the root causes of nighttime leg cramping. None of these ideas require significant strength or advanced athleticism, yet they can be remarkably effective if done regularly. As we wrap up our exploration, let's revisit what it could mean for you if nighttime cramps were no longer a constant threat. You might sleep more soundly, wake up feeling more rested, and step into your day with greater confidence. Think about the activities you enjoy: gardening, walking with friends, playing with grandchildren. And imagine doing them without that nagging worry that a sudden cramp will throw you off balance. This isn't a far-off dream. It's a realistic possibility when you commit to even a few minutes of stretching daily. There is a sense of urgency here, but not one that should create fear. The urgency comes from the knowledge that every day we wait is another day those muscles can become tighter and more prone to spasms. But there's no need to panic. Start gently, choose the stretches that resonate most, and build from there. Even small improvements can create a ripple effect on your overall well-being, and you are in the driver's seat of that change. If you're wondering where to begin, you might pick just one stretch to try tonight, perhaps the seated hamstring stretch if you've been dealing with tightness behind your thighs. Or maybe you'll opt for the morning ankle rolls to see if that gives you a head start on leg comfort. If you'd like to go further, you can gradually add more stretches until you have a comfortable routine. And if you're eager to share your progress, consider telling a friend or family member about what you're doing. They might join in, and together you can stay motivated. For those who want to deepen their practice, you could look into local senior-friendly exercise classes or ask your healthcare provider for personalized advice if you have specific medical conditions. That's another layer of your call to action, seeking professional guidance if something doesn't feel right. Remember, we're all unique, and what works for one person may need tweaking for another. You could also keep a little notebook or journal, logging which stretches you do and how you feel afterward. Over time, patterns will emerge, and you'll be able to see what's most effective. It's a way of demonstrating to yourself that you have the ability to make a significant difference in your quality of life. Whether you choose one stretch or all 8, taking that first step is the key. Above all, recognize that your experience, wisdom, and resilience have brought you to this moment. You have the power to shape your journey forward. Nighttime leg cramps are not an unavoidable price of aging. With consistent, gentle effort and a willingness to experiment with new habits, you can enjoy nights of deeper rest and days of renewed vitality. May you find assurance in knowing that relief is within reach and that every stretch you do is a vote for your own well-being.